British and French warships will sail to the South China Sea, which is in dispute, for a show of force. The plan might satisfy many in each country, continue to upset China, upset the key stakeholders in the region, and trigger an increase in militarization. Ships from the navy of the two European countries, which have no claim on the South China Sea, will use the activity to justify military spending at home. It will also prove the strength of French defense technology and help America keep the region open internationally, despite China's increasing control there. A proposed 3.5 million square kilometers sea route was announced in early June at a meeting of military leaders at the Shangri-La Dialogue, attended by French Defense Minister Florence Parly and British Defense Minister Gavin Williamson. Huang Kuei-bo, Deputy Dean of the Faculty of International Relations at National Chengchi University in Taipei, said, "By law they have the right to cross peacefully in the South China Sea. But politically and strategically the shipping complicates the situation and helps America to implement a counter-strategy to Beijing's assertiveness in the region." The recent deployment of the United States in the contested South China Sea might make Chinese strategic planners think of underestimating the true strength of the U.S. Every country, like sports teams, do not always recognize when they might be thrown from their perch in the world. USS America, the new amphibious assault ship, is now patrolling the South China Sea with other U.S. cruisers, U.S. destroyers and Australian destroyers. They operate near where Chinese research vessels supported by Chinese Coast Guard vessels are at odds with Malaysian ships. Malaysia objects to China's presence in their exclusive economic zone, which China claims as its own, along with much of the South China Sea. Admiral Fred Catcher, commander of the American Expeditionary Strike Group, stated, "To deploy this much combat capability here in the South China Sea, truly giving signals to our allies and partners in the region, we are deeply committed to a free Indo-Pacific and open." Maybe so. However, a demonstration of the ability and commitment of the United States might also seem like temptation from a Chinese point of view. The welcomed Australian contribution, the U.S. squadron now in the South China Sea relies on itself. Meanwhile, 3 ships are only 3 ships. We might wonder how many backup plans do they have? Maybe 1 or 2 submarines nearby. But what about air support? USS America has several F-35 fighter planes and helicopters, but no aircraft carriers. The closest operator is very far from there. USS Theodore Roosevelt was in Guam due to the virus pandemic among the crew, while the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan was in a remote port in Japan. What about land-based air support? That is too far away, according to an analysis by Grant Newsham of the Asia Times, with the closest U.S. airbases on Guam nearly 3,218.6 kilometers away and Okinawa nearly 2,414 kilometers away. The Navy of the Chinese People's Liberation Army plan has more ships in the South China Sea and nearby. Estimates for the region range from 5 to 10 Chinese warships for each U.S. Navy ship. America's superior ability does not mean the position of the two and then become equal. China might think of disparaging, so that's all you have. The USS America commander may feel a little lonely by being alone in the region. He would not be the first United States naval commander to feel that. In 2000, a commander like that noted, his greatest fear was that he would face off without support so that China would not be afraid to start attacking. The incident occurred a few years ago. China and its military are now much stronger and less inhibited, sending U.S. ships to waters where they are outnumbered by Chinese naval forces capable of facing increasingly aggressive China, reminiscent of a history not too far back in time. So, the British sent the HMS Prince of Wales with the older warship HMS Repulse to the main British Asian naval base in Singapore. HMS Prince of Wales is a modern and powerful ship. United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill had even met on a warship a few months earlier in Canada to draft the Atlantic Charter.